Welcome back to Thursdays on the Pagan Perspective, and welcome to 2016. I'm your Thursday host, Yeka, and this week we're talking about New Year's and doing a little bit of reintroductory. So our questions are basically, what's our path's New Year? Um, what do we celebrate? And do we do New Year's resolutions? If so, what are we doing? So in terms of my path, I know there's a lot of folks look at like Samhain or Third Harvest, as we like to call it in this household, as a New Year's. For my practice, I like to think about the whole year as a cycle, as this continual cycle. So there isn't a specific point in time where it changes from one year to the next. It just keeps going. Winter becomes spring, spring becomes summer, summer, fall, fall, winter, winter, spring, and on and on. And I think that during those periods, we're in constant transition, and there's never one point that is a different year. Of course, I do use the calendar, right? The Gregorian calendar, so the 1st of January being, okay, that's the new year according to, popular culture, but I like the idea of using the seasons, and I do celebrate the 8 holidays of the wheel of the year, and looking at those as a guide to kind of what kind of resolutions I might be doing. So, for instance, in the late fall and the winter is a time for me of letting go and making space for new things. So that would be a time to make a resolution or a goal of letting go of a habit that really isn't serving me, a real negative habit, or maybe even if it's not something that is negative but just isn't serving me anymore, and looking at the spring as a time of planting new things, and this late summer and fall as a harvesting time. So I really like looking at the seasons that way. In terms of resolutions, as I mentioned, we do kind of throughout the year resolutions. Goals are really important to us. We set them and periodically check in about how we're meeting them, how can we do better at that, etc. So, and I do have some intentions for 2016, but those are still secret, and you will all find out about that as the year goes on. So now, talking about a little bit of a reintroductory, we had a question that was for the whole group, which was, are you all Wiccans? And then sort of as a follow-up, well, how do you define your path? And then finally, what kind of magic do you practice, like folk magic or ceremonial magic? So I don't identify as a Wiccan. I do occasionally use the name because it's an easy, for quick communication. If somebody, this isn't actually something that comes up in face-to-face communication very often, but if somebody asks, oh, well, what religion are you? I might say Wicca, because that's something that there's a little bit more public awareness that's going to more quickly communicate the idea than me saying, well, I identify as a pagan, and by that I mean that I have an earth-based path and I practice intent, etc., etc. I'll also, if I'm filling out some sort of form that asks for religious affiliation, I'll put Wicca down, because I think that's going to count me closer than putting other down, or have them count me as, not belonging to any group. So the reason that there's a lot about Wicca that I really like, but the reason that I don't personally identify as Wicca, there's two main reasons, and they're kind of actually really connected. The first is that I'm a non-theist, and I use the term non-theist as opposed to atheist because people often think atheist means, or they think it means that you have no religion, as opposed to you just don't believe in gods. And that's what it is for me. I don't believe in gods. I clearly have a religion. I'm on this channel. But I understand why they're attractive for some people. I like stories about them, but I just don't believe in them, and I don't really use them in my practice. So the theology in Wicca seems to be a big part of it. Now, some people see it as metaphorical and all of that, but so for me, it's just easier not to go there. And the other part is that there is, in many interpretations, and again, everybody's got different ideas about what Wicca really is, but a big theme throughout a lot of Wicca is dualism. And that is also something that does not reflect the way I see the world. I don't see the world in male, female, light, dark, good, evil, all of that. I think that those are ideas that we have constructed, and that just doesn't reflect the fluidity and the great vastness and diversity and the very tiny amount that we are in the big scale, the big picture of things. So what I do identify as is I identify as a pagan, and I don't really specify further than that. I've had a lot of influences from different areas, but for me, it's about being connected with nature. And by nature, I mean, reality, right? All of this stuff. And really working with seeing myself as my moral center, and working with intention, and being as conscious and as present, and as in tune as I can. In terms of what magic do I practice, the question specifically asked about folk magic or ceremonial magic. I don't use those terms usually because actually this is something we've talked about on this channel. Those terms, you'll get different definitions from different people about what each of those are. So I don't worry too much about, does it fit into that or does it not fit into that. In terms of what I actually do, in my daily practice, my life, I use meditation, I use visualization, I'll do shamanic journeying, which is also called trance work for some people. Let's see, just simply working, setting intentions, reminders like that, and occasionally a little bit more of a formal ritual with a circle casting and all of that, but that isn't as common. I was formally trained, so I'm comfortable working with groups, but I usually don't because it's really about my relationship with my world, and really bringing together those different spaces of recognizing that the spiritual and mundane really are one. So yeah, I hope that addresses some of those questions a little bit. You guys will be hearing from the subs on the same topic at the end of the month, and we will be welcoming some new subs, so they will be finding out very soon because we just finished our voting process on who will be joining us, and you'll be meeting them at the end of the month. So stay tuned, see you next week, and take care.